Hello all, welcome to NetBook and welcome back to Mulesoft tutorials. Today I'm planning to show how to use the logger component, the overview about logger component. In my previous video, I was explaining about Mule event and I used a logger component and just printed, but we don't know how exactly that logger is printing, what options it contain that we haven't explained or we haven't seen. Right? So I'm going to explain about that logger component in details as well as how exactly it is going to work. That is what I'm going to show today. So I'm taking this example hello world program as it is. You can see that it is already deployed in my Mule runtime. Currently, I removed some of the previous loggers and all. I just bring it back to the basic. Now you can see as soon as the listener accept the request, it will create an event, right? So I want to put some loggers and print a message in a console. So what is a logger first of all? So the logger component is a for debugging or monitoring your application we use normally. So like you want to see that the flow has been reached to this point, then you can put a logger component over here, print some message so that you can monitor that yes, this flow has been triggered and all. So this is the logger component which is part of a core module over here. You can find it under this. You can see the logger component. Hold it and drag and drop over here. So when you drag and drop over here, so I want to monitor my flow. As soon as event is created, I want to make sure this flow has been triggered. I can put a logger and I can keep some message over here that entering into this flow or something. So that when it is running this application and somebody triggered an event, request, then the message will be printed here so that I can monitor, yes, this flow has been triggered and this message has been printed and all I can see over here. That is the purpose we use a logger. Now, what exactly it contains? The logger component mainly contains three parts. One is message, level, and category. The message is something what exactly you want to print and see that message in the console or maybe in the some file. Okay, so now this message maybe I can say entering into um, hello world flow. This is what I want to print a message in the log console or maybe in the file. So the message can be three types. One is completely the plain text you can put it, or you can put it, maybe you want to print some message over here. So you want to print a message, Mule message, or maybe if you want to print a payload, that you can select over here. Or you can select over here entering into hello world, and then you want to put a payload also over here. You want to print a payload also. That means completely the plain text or completely the Mule provided syntax, that is payload or whatever you want to print. And the third part is maybe you can use text plus the Mule object, that is payload or message, whatever you want to put it. You can do both. Okay, so that I will be showing over here. We can use another logger and I can show that both of them. Now the log level. There are 5 levels of loggings: debug, error, info, trace, and warning. These are the different types of a logging levels. Info level is the by default logging mechanism. It will be used. You can see that over here, the available options also same. It is in the document also it is mentioned. So what is the log level? If you want to your application, this logger needs to be printed in a debug mode, then you can select in debug. In case of any error occurred in our flow, you want to monitor that error message. So you want to segregate that error message level as error. You can put error over here. By default info, that means wherever you are going to use a logger, this is just for information that this flow is triggered, right? So that information we are displaying in a console or logger message, right? In that case, you can use a log level as info. Or if you want to print some trace, maybe somewhere you are using a logger component, you are printing some trace, complete trace, then you can use a trace level here. And warning, you just want to display that some warning, not display, if you want to print some warning message, then you can select log level as warning. So I'm going to select by default as now info level. Now category. So as soon as your message is printed, this one, it is triggered, this log message will be printed in a info level. It's a part of a default message logger processor. So that category it will be printed. Imagine you have your application has around 10 to 15 logger components. If you are going to put it that way, maybe there might be the performance issue. Every logger needs to be printed. Lot of logging is going to generate and all. You don't want to do that. But sometime you want to debug your application and see the messages, what it is coming and all. In that case, you can enable only logs which are category as something whatever you mention here. An example, if I'm going to say that hello world debug. Okay, this is the category you are mentioning. Whatever if we have a 10 logs, maybe the 10 logs you want to print in a console, only category belongs to this, then you can change it during the runtime or runtime you can change it and you can print them. So I think it might be the confusing, but I will be showing while it is deploying the application. Okay, that will be easy now. So now we can see that now I just given entering into the hello world flow. And we will see these two options first, then I will explain about category by executing the application. I'm going to use one more logger after this. I can say here, this is entering into the Mule flow, right? Hello world flow, right? I'm going to say exit from hello world flow. And I want to print a message also, the payload message. You can select that. You can see now it is a plain text till this one, and the remaining part is going to be your um, your payload it is going to print. Okay, so the dynamic value it is going to print. Save this now. So I'm going to show this by deploying this application. It is already deployed, but it is going to republish because of the loggers added now. So what will happen in my log? That is what I'm going to show right now. So I'm going to the browser, localhost 8081/message, enter it. So I'm getting a hello world as a response over here. If I go to the my console over here, you can see here entering into the hello world flow. That is the first logger which is printed. And then the second message, if you see, exit from hello world flow, but it is coming as hello world as extra. What is that? That is the payload it contains, right? That is the message. So this is what the message it is going to be. Okay. Now, I was talking about the second thing, the message we are clear about, right? So the message is printing as it is in the console like this. The second part over here is log level info. If I go to the uh, console again, you can see that it is printing as an info log over here. That means the log level it is displayed as a info level. Okay, so that is the second part. Then I was talking about category. By default, the category is the logger message processor because of this processor is logger component, right? That's why. And when Mulesoft implemented their code, they have written internally the Java code with a Java class name called logger message processor. That is what it is displaying. Okay. So now what will happen in case of if I'm going to change my log level as here, log category as hello world debug. Okay, I'm just keeping the category as this one. What will happen you can see now. I just changed it for this log. Okay, the starting log. Let it publish, clear the log and submit the request again now. Submitted the request. Now you can see here the category is printed hello world debug as my category over here. Okay, so now this category logs only I want to print it during my runtime, then I can change it something in a configuration. So that is in the log4j that I will talk about it now. So now we are clear, right? Till now the category, log level and message. Now do we know exactly how these print statements are happening here, logger happening here? It is printing some log level, some date, something over here that is your thread, and then there is a processor over here, it is printed, and there is an event, then category, and then message. How exactly it is printing? Do we know? No, right? So how exactly it is working is whenever you create a Mule project, it is going to contain log4j2.xml here. In this, let me show you over here. Let me copy this content and I will open some notepad over here. Over here, this is the log4j. This is the main heart for this logging. So based on this log configuration, the messages are printing. Not only in the console, it's going to print it in one more file also. You can see this appenders over here. There is a appenders over here also. You can see that there is a rolling file. The file is under your Mule home. There is a separator forward slash. Then there is a hello world API.log. Where exactly it is? Your Mule home. So if I go over here, my Mule home is under Anypoint Studio, plugins, Mule tooling server 4.3.0, Mule. This is the Mule home. Under that, I have a logs folder. Under that, you can see hello world API. If I open this file also, in the last line, you should be able to see exactly this is hello world debug and entering into the flow. Here also in this file also it is going to print. How it is printing? Based on this what you have mentioned, with this it is printing. Then there is a file pattern, right? The file pattern is something you can see the file name is going to be hello world, hello-world API percentage of I. So currently it is here it is like this. So what will happen? It's going to create another file with with um, -1 I think so. Let me see. Yes, -1 because of hyphen percentage of I is going to create this one. Okay. So what does that means when it is going to create? It is going to create when the file size triggers at 10 MB. So the current file here is 51 KB, right? When this file size reaches to 10 MB, automatically it is going to create or rename the old file with the -1.log and the new file will be created with the same name over here. Like how many files it is going to create? Its maximum 10 files will be created under this folder. What will happen after 10 files? The old file will be overwritten. The 11th file will be overwritten with a 10. So the old file automatically will be archived automatically. This folder will contain only 10 files, 10 log files. because of you mentioned over here. By default it is configuration, not you. By default configuration it is after 10 files it is going to overwritten. Now how exactly the pattern is printing over here, this pattern, right? So if you see the the pattern layout over here, this is what you can see, the pattern here. If you see, I'm going to compare both of them. When I say that over here, percentage of -5p, here is that the log level it is. Percentage of d, that is the date time which is going to be. Percentage of t, which in the bracket, you can see within the braces here. You can see in this braces, you can see it is contain percentage of t, right? That is the thread which is going to be printed. Okay. Then processor, you have a processor and processor path. So you can see the processor over here. This is what it is, processor. Sorry. So let me explain about this thread itself. This is complete thread. It is a Mule runtime, Uber 101, Hello World API, and this is the flow. And it is a thread is CPU light it is creating. With this, see the thread ID. Then next it is their processor. Within that braces, you have a processor path, event, the correlation ID, right? So if I go to the processor over here, the processor path it is the second processor in a Hello World API flow. The processor is second logger component. This is 0th processor. Because of, if you see my flow, this is the 0th processor, first processor, second processor. After this line, it is going to be processors, right? That is what it is displaying. And the event is the correlation ID, which is printed over here. Okay. Then what else? Then we have a percentage of C, that is the category. So the percentage of C is category. My category is hello world-debug. The next one is over here, default category is logger message processor. Okay, that is what it is printing. And then percentage of message and percentage of n. So if we have a message here, that message is printing over here. And if you have a message plus your Mulesoft notation, that is a payload or message if you are printing, the both will be printed over here. So with this pattern in the log4j pattern, it is printing in the log console or log the file. So if you want to change it anything, you can change it if you want to change the pattern of the message, what it is printing in the log. Okay, I hope this is clear now. Now we have it below the log categories over here, what needs to be printed. You can see log message processor, you want to print in 4 logs only. Okay, and that the file is info level needs to be printed. This will be printed over there. Okay, so with this it is going to print. So let me come back to my flow, and if I change it to from the info to debug over here, save it. Now let me publish this flow now again. So it is republishing now the changes. Yes, it is deployed now. If I hit this request again now you can see I changed it to debug level over here. Nothing is printing in my console over here. It is just printing exit from hello world flow. Why? Because the reason is this logger component uses this logger message processor, right? It is going to print only info levels. That's why it is printing only that part. Okay, only that part it is going to be one part it is going to print. But you want to see this file needs to be, this logger needs to be printed. What you need to do, you need to mention this category in your log4j now. So what you need to do, you need to add a async log over here, and name is equal to this one, and the level should be debug. Okay, so this entry you have to do if you want to print. So during runtime, by adding this in a runtime, this async log level as a debug, you can print that message again. So let me republish this project again. So I'm going to change a little bit here. It will be republished, my project. Let's wait for republish. So now we can see that it is a debug here, and the category is hello world debug. So what will happen now if we have a 10 loggers also, these are not going to execute in your runtime unless this is added over here. Okay, so whenever you require it, you will be enabling in runtime only this log level as a debug, so that these loggers will be printed. Otherwise, these loggers will be not printed. That is the advantage of that category over here. By using that category, either you want to whenever you want to print that messages, you can enable it. Whenever you don't want, you can disable it. So simple. So the logger component is going to contain mainly three parts: message, log level, category. These all are printed in the log console or in a file based on log4j. Um, the pattern, whatever we mentioned here, and the file will be based on what you have given over here. By default, it will be created with your project name. Okay, and you can manage those logging levels and all using async log over here. That simple it is. Okay. So mainly it is used for monitoring and debugging your application, this logger component mainly. Okay. Hope this is understandable. Hope you will be using properly this logging in your project. Please like, share, subscribe NetBook. See you in the next video.